Every business has one defining decision.
Decisions.
Decision.
I mean, one.
That single shift is everything, in my opinion.
The thing that actually separates founders who build empires from the ones that just stay stuck. It's not their idea, it's not their work ethic. I think it's who they actually drive their inspiration from and who they see as like their mental mentors.
You're not going to be very successful in business if your mind is all over the place.
And so what I'm gonna do today is break down 5 decisions that I've learned from 5 genius founders and apply these decisions to help impact the trajectory of your company and your life. I built a founder decision scorecard that you can go and download after this video. And you're gonna have the exact framework by the end of this video to make the same kinds of decisions as these billionaires did in your business. Let's get into it. Genius decision number 1, Jensen, Huang, NVIDIA.
People with very high expectations have very low resilience.
At some point, you have to believe something. There was no reason to not be committed because we believed it.
Everyone thinks NVIDIA won because of the AI boom. But the real story starts 3 decades ago with a decision Jensen Huang made that almost nobody saw coming. So here we go. Picture this. Your company is dominating in gaming graphics. That's what pays the bills. That's what investors understand. That's what you're known for. And then you make a decision that completely changes your company's direction. Who in their right mind would do that? Well, a genius. In the mid-2010s, Jensen made a move that looked from the outside completely reckless. NVIDIA wasn't going to define itself by gaming chips. It was going all in on AI infrastructure. And here's the thing back then. AI wasn't a gold rush, right? It was just some research project. Academics were excited, but most executives had no idea where it was even gonna go. And from the outside, it looked like he was betting the company on some science fair. From the inside, it was a complete redefinition of the company's destiny. Jensen wasn't asking, how big could AI be? He was asking, once AI becomes inevitable, who owns the infrastructure of it? This is a completely different way to think. This is some Titan energy here. And when the AI boom hit years later, well, we know how that went. It didn't just create NVIDIA's success, it actually revealed what they had been working on for decades. What looked like overnight success was actually a 30-year positioning strategy finally paying off. Jensen once said, the question isn't should we take a big bet, it's what future risks can we eliminate right now that our competitors are ignoring. Read that again. Eliminating future irrelevance, not chasing upside. That framing alone is worth more than 99% of business advice you'll ever hear. The mistake most founders make is copying someone else's playbook, optimizing for what looks smart now instead of what will really matter later on. So here's the shift that you need to make. Stop asking what's working today and start asking what will be obvious in 10 years and how do I position myself before it's obvious? You know, most founders just protect revenue streams. Genius founders protect relevance. Invest in skills that compound, build assets that will still matter if your industry evolves. Jensen positioned himself before it was obvious. That's the whole move. Every single year around February, I like to go and jam with my team on an offsite and really just work to go and see how we can disrupt our own business. Just like Steve Jobs, just like Jensen, these titans of industry can teach us things. And if there's one thing we can go and get from them, it's that decision to go and disrupt yourself before someone else does. Genius decision number 2, Steve Jobs, Apple.
Are you getting it? Know that you can plant something in the world and it'll grow and change the world ever so slightly.
One of Jobs' most famous quotes is, if you don't cannibalize yourself, someone else will. He didn't just say it, right? He lived it twice. In 1997, Apple was 90 days from bankruptcy. Dozens of products, no clear identity, and sales were falling off a cliff. Everyone expected him to come back, launch more, chase more markets, add more features. Instead, he killed 70% of the product line. 4 products, that's it. Not to cut costs, but to create radical focus. And just when that bet paid off, he did it again. Jobs made the call to build the iPhone, fully knowing that it was going to kill the iPod. The iPod was carrying Apple. It had dominated portable music, was wildly profitable, and defined the brand. Most founders would have just gone and protected that product at all costs. He chose to disrupt himself rather than wait to be disrupted. And that one decision turned Apple into the most valuable company in the world. When I was building Founder OS, we had one core product for the first 2 to 3 years. One. And we scaled that single product to a place where the business was genuinely insanely profitable and powerful. Meanwhile, I keep seeing founders, so many, who are juggling 10, 12 different offers, side products, side projects, experiments, and none of them are even breaking through. There's no depth, no dominance, just a bunch of half-built things competing with each other for attention. And that's a real trap. You think more products means more revenue, but what it actually creates is just a dilution of your time. You end up being known for nothing instead of being known for one thing. So here's how you go and apply this right now. Anywhere you see complexity, you gotta kill it. Identify the product, the service, and the project that is actually driving you real results. That's the one, right? Pour everything into it. Look for that piece of your business that's the easiest thing to sell and that is the highest percentage of your profits. And then just double down relentlessly, even when it feels uncomfortable, because it probably will. You gotta bring what I call war chief energy. Eliminate the noise, kill the complexity, and any products that aren't contributing to your core focus. Because the founders who win are the ones who are still standing in 10 years and the ones who had the courage to say no to everything else. Genius decision number 3, Brian Chesky, Airbnb.
Airbnb could become so much more than it is today.
The hardest thing to manage a crisis is your own psychology.
Brian Chesky didn't build his edge through a product or some growth strategy. He built it by doing one thing most founders overlook: his culture. Imagine losing 80% of your business in a single month. Well, that's exactly what happened to Airbnb in March of 2020. Bookings disappeared overnight. Investors panicked. 1,900 people lost their jobs. Morale had cratered inside of the company, and the engine that had powered Airbnb for over a decade started to completely stall. Culture itself was unraveling, right? And most CEOs in that moment would just step back. They let the team sort it out, hire someone in just to go and fix things, right? But not Brian Chesky. This guy made a bold, unconventional decision. He went and personally stepped into every part of the company. And so what did he do? Well, he shut down unnecessary divisions, removed layers of approval, remapped the entire operation. There's like 90 core screens that are part of the Airbnb product, right? And he went and simplified that overall UI, going and cutting all the noise, removing a lot of the product management, flattening the organization, and just helping move through key product decisions. His rule was radical in its simplicity. Everyone's gonna work on everything together. And if I can't personally focus on it, we won't do it. Now, some called it micromanaging, but in a moment where the company's survival and soul is on the line, you gotta go and personally make the decisions to go and save it. I had a version of this recently. I'd gone and brought on a copywriter to help solve a content problem. And what was one of their first suggestions? Matt, we need to hire a head of marketing. And I thought, you know what? That's the last thing we need right now, right? The real answer was simple, but also a lot harder. I need to step in myself and I need to actually instill a level of extreme ownership in this individual, getting closer to the work, understanding the problem firsthand, and then building solutions in place. So we don't need to just add more headcount, more complexity, more humans, right? But find just simpler solutions. Here's what this means for you. You know, when the culture in your company starts to kind of drift, you can't delegate that standard, right? You have to hold it high and embody it. The bar that you set becomes the bar that everyone follows. So pick your moments carefully. When things are breaking, step in personally. But when the systems are working, you can kind of let people carry the work. That balance is how you maintain a high-performing culture over the long haul. You get what you tolerate. Genius decision number 4, Edward Land, Polaroid.
Take a wallet out of my pocket and perhaps open the wallet, press a button, close the wallet, and have the picture.
You may not recognize the name Edward Land. I get it. But here's one of the reasons I was tipped off to him. This is Steve Jobs' ultimate idol. Jobs himself called Land one of his biggest inspirations, and here's why. In 1943, Edward Land was on a vacation with his 3-year-old daughter. He took a photo, and she asked him a simple question: why can't I see the picture right now? That one question from a 3-year-old changed the entire photography industry. At the time, getting photos developed meant sending film away and then waiting days. Most people would have tried to make that process faster or cheaper, but Land approached that from a completely different angle, asking, what if the wait didn't exist at all? After years of secret research and hundreds of failed experiments, he unveiled the first Polaroid camera in 1947. Its initial run sold out almost instantly. Land didn't compete in photography. He invented a version of it that nobody else was even thinking about. He didn't find a niche, he became the niche. I hear this all the time from founders, right? What's your niche? What exactly do you do? And I always think, why are you asking that question? Why are we trying to fit into a niche when we could just go and create one? Here's the question that you need to ask yourself. Am I trying to fit in? Or am I building something that reshapes the space entirely? What could I build that doesn't exist yet? Something so compelling that others naturally find their place around it. If you want to build something legendary, stop chasing where the market is. Start with the vision of where it could be and then become the standard everyone else aligns to. That's what Land did, that's what Jobs did, and that's exactly what you need to do. Genius decision number 5, Brad Jacobs, QXO.
I like making money for shareholders.
As a founder, the difference between struggling and dominating often comes down to one edge, an edge that most people never really think about. Brad Jacobs has built $7 billion companies, and his edge wasn't money, it wasn't talent, it wasn't connections, it's control over himself, his own mindset. Brad Jacobs built some of the largest companies in their industries, United Rentals, XPO Logistics, and others. But at some point, he realized that the biggest threat to success, it wasn't the market, right? It's how he handled the struggle in his own mind. So he did something most founders never do. He turned inward. He studied how he operated under pressure. He learned meditation. He learned to separate emotion from decision-making. And he built the kind of internal OS, right? That discipline that let him stay clear-headed even when things got kind of chaotic and crazy. He stopped reacting and started responding. The meditation led to clear thinking. Clear thinking led to stronger decisions and scale and the ability to hire better performance and just outperform the market, not just once, but 7 times. He led high-performing teams without getting pulled into the noise. And he didn't just build systems for his companies, right? He built a system for himself. And that there is what has allowed him to go and build billion-dollar companies over and over again. And so here's the exercise. Let's just say something goes and knocks you off kilter, right? Where suddenly now you're stressed. And we go and imagine ourselves 50% as stressed as we are right now. And you kind of hold that for a minute. So now we're suddenly allowing things to cool down. And then we think, okay, can I be 50% less stressed than that? What's really happening, right, is we're gradually practicing this mental exercise of realizing that most of our problems are just manufactured in the mind. And your perception is not the reality. Jacob started to understand even the clearest thinking won't matter if the wrong people are around you. So he applies that same discipline time after time to his team. He has surrounded himself exclusively with what he calls A players. And I'm not just talking talented people. We're talking about the right people, and then he incentivizes them extremely well, right? Making sure that they're not just gonna stick around for 6 months, but these people wanna stick around him to the very end of that journey. People who didn't need to be managed, who took ownership, who raised the bar for everyone around them. And he's ruthless about this. We all know A players attract A players, but B players attract C players, right? So the importance of having absolute weapons in your company is insanely important. And when you look at folks like Brad Jacobs, a 7-time unicorn founder, these guys embody it. Because one wrong person is a key seat that doesn't just slow things down, it really just drags your entire culture backwards. It's one part mental mastery and one part organizational architecture. That combination, right, is how it's allowed him to build multiple billion-dollar companies, not once, but over and over and over again, 7 times. So here's the question for you. Do you have a system for how you handle stress? Do you meditate? Do you seek nature? Do you have some different mindfulness exercises? Do you have a standard for who you allow on your team? And most importantly, who you definitely are gonna say no to. You know, when you get intentional about building that operating system for your mindset, your people, and your business, that's when you stop grinding and start building something with real peace, real profit, and real purpose, which is really what it's all about. So what do all 5 of these founders have in common? Every single one of them made a decision that looked counterintuitive at the time. Every one of them chose long-term alignment over short-term comfort. They didn't ask, what's working right now? They asked, what will the future demand, and am I building towards that thing? If you want to make sure that the next decisions you make are on par with the greats we featured in this video, I built something practical for you. It's called the Founder Defining Decision Scorecard, and it's linked in the description below. You'll score yourself across the 5 decision categories that I just walked through: focus, positioning, future relevance, culture, and your internal operating system. And then it's going to go and expose the one defining decision that you're probably avoiding right now, which is useful because then you can go and take that scorecard webinar, do a strategy call with me and my team, and we can then go and help you kind of pressure test those decisions and really how you're thinking about your systems architecture to make sure that you're supported for success and scale. Because clarity without systems is just going to create chaos. If you're a serious founder building for the next 10 years, not the next 10 months, download it below and let's build this thing properly. The defining decision in your business and the one that will matter most, it's not going to feel safe, okay? It's going to force you to be honest about who you actually are as a founder. That's the line between something that lasts and something that just works for now. You've got one life to build this thing. Don't play small, don't play safe, make the hard call. If you like this video, you definitely like this next video on the psychology of going and scaling a brand. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.